Halito, and welcome to Native Chaktuk, a podcast by natives for all. Here we're keeping our native ancestors' stories and history alive, while also sharing with you our native culture, traditions, and more. I'm Rachel Youngman, a Choctaw originally from Anadarko, Oklahoma. I hope you'll enjoy this journey with me as we learn from our Native American guests. And I hope you'll do me a favor. Feel free to like and share these episodes. I so appreciate it. Yakoki.
You're listening to part 4 of this series.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about your own history. What can you share about your ancestral history?
I have my mom, who is Michelle Hawk, and I have my dad, who's Derwin Larionoff. And on my mom's side, there's Grandma Franny, Frances French, and then my grandpa, Joseph Hawk, and then my great-grandma, Mabel, and great-grandpa, Whitey, who is my grandma Franny's parents. And then on my dad's side, I have Grandma Violet and Grandpa Tuffy, Moses Larionoff, who I mentioned earlier. And then from there, on my grandma's side, you have great Grandpa Rolf Christensen. And he was actually a Norwegian sailor, and he sailed the world twice. And so he landed in Old Harbor and met great grandma Sasha, and they ended up having 19 kids. And so
19 kids.
Yeah, so I have a lot of family. And so from there you have great grandma Sasha's mother, Catherine Talijuk, I believe is how you say it. And then you have Catherine's father, who was Nekifer Talihut, but he was actually born in Japan, and I was always told that I was part Japanese, but I never really knew where it came from. And so from there, Catherine's mother was Agrippina, I believe is the way you say it. And so that's as far as I get there. But great grandma Sasha's father was Timothy Kelly. And then from there, Timothy's father was Boris Kelly. And from there, Timothy's mother was Maria I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but yeah, Maria. And then, I'm actually Russian from two sides, I believe. So on my grandpa Tuffy's side, I believe is where I get some of that Russian. And then also on my mom's side, my great grandpa Joe, I'm starting to dive into this a little bit more. We had like a great great grandpa who came from Russia or Ukraine and went to Canada. I believe that was during one of the wars. So they fled to Canada, and then so that's how that connection ended up there.
Did your grandparents speak the Alutiiq language?
Yes, and Sukbiat is what we refer to as our language. So
okay, yeah, Sukbiak language. And did your parents speak it as well?
So it not entirely, not fluent. Again, there was the period where the boarding schools happened, and we were forced to speak English, and so it's kind of died out. But there has been some things that have been passed on. So,
wow. And then your ancestors, other than the ones that came from Russia and other places, but primarily your ancestors are from Kodiak, correct?
Yes. So there's Kodiak, where I know I'm from, which is no longer a village. I believe it got wiped out in the tsunami. Great Grandpa Tuffy is from Awa'uq and moved to Old Harbor. And I believe that is, those are the two other places. I have some lineage that I believe from Helsinki as well. And so, those are the main ones that I know, but those are all on Kodiak Island. So
strongly rooted there.
Yeah.
Well, what interesting stories do you know about some of these folks you mentioned?
So those were the interesting stories. Um,
That works for me. I mean, and
okay.
I'm not surprised because I searched newspapers.com for hours looking for your ancestors and ancestry.com. Of course, I found facts and data, but finding a lot of stories, I just didn't find much. And you and I talked earlier about how I even find that interesting because that means that those records are either kept somewhere on the island
Mhm.
or it's kept orally or there were no records kept, which is very, very much how it is here in the lower 48 as well. So, okay, well, interesting. Is there
Yep.
anything else you would like our listeners to know about your family history?
Well, like you said, we're deeply rooted in Kodiak, and we were a subsistence people and lived a subsistence lifestyle. But currently today, we I grew up as a commercial fisherman, and so did my dad and my uncles, and so we are very connected to the sea. And Grandma Franny grew up, or she had a fishing boat at one point, and again, that's my tie to my work on the fisheries committee and trying to revitalize that market for all the people of Old Harbor now. So,
Love that. Fully immersed.
yep.
And you must miss living there, right?
So, yes and no. I miss being around all of my family and all the familiar faces, and being able to go hiking all the time, and being able to go to a beach and being the only person at the beach and getting to enjoy it by yourself, and going to the store and recognizing people there, or the
Oh,
being the only person in the store at times. And so there's pros and cons, and the connection to the land is a big piece. When I go home, I feel like I belong there. But right now I'm in a time in my life where I'm growing, and so I'm now exploring the world, and I'm here in Washington, and I it's really helped me reflect on myself as a person and see who I am and who I'm becoming. And so it's beneficial that I'm venturing out. But I there is times where I really do miss her. I'm like, man, I wish I was back. But luckily enough, I get to go back for leadership stuff. So
absolutely. And like you said, this is a time of growth and it's meant to be, and this is what your elders prepared you for. So,
exactly.
well, thank you for sharing about the Alutiiq and about your family history. And please thank the elders for sharing their thoughts on the latest news. Hey, y'all, just taking a quick break from this episode for an outtake from the recording that Scott and I were doing. I had a really bad cold that day and was feeling miserable. So I needed a break. I took a drink of water out of my huge Buc-ee's cup. If you've ever lived in Texas, if you know, you know. Buc-ee's gas stations are the best. Anyway, but so it's a bit of an outtake that I wanted to put in here. Scott talked about his bolo tie, which I thought was really cool. And so I wanted to make sure that I didn't exclude it from this episode. So enjoy. Stupid cold. Well,
I like your background,
thank
all the
you. Those are my
pictures.
my ancestors.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's so
My great
cool.
great grandpa, Tom, his mom's name was Tomahoya, and then that's his wife. But
Ah,
he went around killing white people when the Dawes Act was enabled. And when he did that, he was supposed to be hanged, but President Grover Cleveland actually pardoned him. Isn't that crazy?
yeah. Wow.
I'm here
Uh,
because President Grover Cleveland, you're welcome.
oh, that's so awesome. I don't have anything. The only thing I really have is I'm wearing my bolo tie from our current tribal chief. Yeah,
Oh,
he
well,
actually.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so he passed it down to me, and the he said an elder passed it to him, and the story he gave behind it, and this is the moral of the story. Out of respect for him, I won't tell the story he told me, but it's that there's certain aspects of life where you need to let the success come to you rather than always chasing the success. And so that one's gonna stick with me for a while, and I'm gonna keep this for a long time. So
Oh my gosh, right? And I love that.
it's ivory. It's an ivory mask.
Oh, that is so special. It's funny because my sister and I went to see Chief Batten, our Choctaw chief, one time. It was the very first time I interviewed him, and my sister was there to support me. And he gave us both water bottles. My sister kept the water bottle, just like one of those plastic ones that you drink. I mentioned I'd be putting you on the spot here with some trivia. Listeners, I think you'll learn a lot from this section too, especially if you're ever planning to visit beautiful Kodiak Island. I gathered the information in this section from alaska.org, the website. So, all right, Scott, are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you're representing the Alutiiq people and the entire great state of Alaska here. No pressure. All right, let's go. I need some like game music, right? All right, question number 1. What is a blanket toss?
A blanket toss is a traditional way of spotting animals up in the tundra. It's more of a flatland, so you can blanket toss and toss people up to see animals that you're hunting in the area.
Blanket toss. Okay. Number 2, what is a burrow and how many of them are there?
I believe in Alaska there's 19 burrows, and that was to avoid the legal and political connotations of the city and state and county structure. Yeah.
Totally not what any of us would probably have guessed.
Mm.
Question number 3, what does the term breakup mean?
I'm assuming you're referring to spring breakup, which is when all of the ice melts and breaks, and all of the snow melts when summer is on around the corner. So
Absolutely. Much more fun than a boyfriend-girlfriend breakup. So number 4 is describe what an Alaska Permanent Fund dividend check is.
So yeah, the PFD is a annual payout from the mineral development and revenue in the state of Alaska.
Amen. Good job. So far, you are winning. I'd send you a gold star if I could. As if I knew all of these things without looking them up. Question number 5, which is really a description. What can you tell us about the Northern Lights?
They are beautiful, amazing anytime you see them. There's probably a more significant traditional meaning to them, but I know that it's when the sun particles are hitting the upper atmosphere, and so it creates the northern lights. The aurora is what we refer to them as. So.
All right, number 6. What are bunny boots?
I believe bunny boots are a boot that is designed for very cold weather. They're somewhere around there, somewhere around negative 40, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, good God, negative 40. And I love the cold, but I don't know about that. That's
cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Number 7, what the heck is a cache?
Cache? Are you referring to a geocache? Is that?
I remember. I'd have to look at my notes. There is another description for it. It's otherwise known as your insurance policy against wild animals. The cache is a small cabin-like structure elevated 8 to 15 feet off the ground for purpose of protecting one's food from hungry scavengers.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay. That makes more sense.
There's other names for it, but okay. Next we have what is a chichaco?
I don't think the term is used so much anymore, but I believe it's like a newcomer to
Yes.
a mining area, right?
Yeah, and I hear that this is a very important term to know if you're going to visit the area. So listeners, listen up. At Chichaco, and again, I don't know if I'm saying it properly, it's a newcomer to the country. The name is usually used in a pejorative sense, such as when someone displays a lack of skill or understanding in the ways of the wilderness. And the opposite would be a sourdough.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm glad this is the whole state of Alaska because
Yeah.
I have some of these terms yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we're both learning, and so are our listeners. But now they'll know if they go. If I go there, people will be like, "Oh, that's a Chachaco," they will. So, all right, number 9. What are the 4 items that drove Alaska's development?
When the Russians came, it was sea otters. And then next would be the gold rush in Alaska. And then after that, related to my speaking to ANCSA, is oil. And then again, deeply rooted in my family history, I want to say the fourth one is commercial fishing.
Yes. Oh my gosh, very good. Ding, ding, ding. Wish I had some. I will give you this cup from Buckley. Buckley's a huge
Uh,
staple in Texas. If yeah, okay. Anyway, yes, very good job. So number 10, what is the nickname for Alaska?
Home? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
So
oh.
the I believe it's you're referring to the last frontier is probably what you're looking for.
That probably is true. What I found was great land, but
Oh,
again, that could be an older term. Who knows?
the last frontier is what I've heard more commonly, but I that's great land. It must be,
Yeah.
I guess it is a different perspective being from Alaska and looking at it from the outside. So
Yeah, well, and you would know better than my Googling. So, all right. Number 11. What are hooligans?
hooligans. I've never been hooligan fishing myself, but I've seen people dip net for hooligan, and it's a small fish that you eat.
Yeah.
Not exactly. Hooligan might be its own species or type of fish, but yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I referred to the people behind me that are my relatives as hooligans earlier. I never knew what that was. I've always said hooligans, and I don't know if I assume that's where the word came from, but yeah, small smelt-like fish which can be eaten bones and all, also called candlefish. They're rich in vitamins and nutrients and so oily you can dry them, insert a wick and burn
Oh,
them like a candle.
they're just candlefish. That makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah,
candlefish.
I'm more familiar with candlefish. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they return each spring to the river of their birth, which marks the beginning of the subsistence season.
Mm,
That's crazy about the candle part.
mm.
Yeah.
That's
All
why
right.
they're named candlefish. Yeah.
That's why. And you can
It
eat them
all,
whole,
it all makes sense now.
right? You can burn them or eat them.
Yeah.
Fun. So, question number 11, what are land yachts?
You got me on this one. I'm a yacht that is on the land.
Basically, it's a derogatory name for a huge, slow RV that seems to take up the whole road. Often they're so wide drivers can't even see around them to know whether it's safe to pass. And I bet there's a little bit of an outsider laugh about that, like, oh, here come the tourists in their big RVs or something.
That's probably more of a mainland thing up towards Anchorage and
Mm.
the Kenai Peninsula and people coming from Canada. I didn't have to deal too much with that. People don't really bring RVs when they come to Kodiak. So,
No.
yeah.
Right. Well, and it's such a big state. I mean, there are things that people say up north that I'm from Oklahoma originally, so I would never know what they mean. So, so number 13, and this is really a good one for us tourists to know as well. What is a mud flat?
I'm familiar with mud flats from Anchorage, and it's when the water goes out, when the tide goes out, and there's a bunch of mud flats exposed from where the water normally covers, and it's actually a really dangerous area. There's stories of people running out on the mud flats and getting stuck and not being able to get out before the tide comes back in. So if you do go and visit Anchorage, don't venture out into the mud flats. It's okay to go on the beach, but yeah, don't go out if the tide's out. Don't go out.
Okay, good to know. Gosh, that's kind of scary. They're like quicksand too, from what I read. It's that dangerous. So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
okay. Number 14, what is a Nanook?
The mascot for the University of Alaska Fairbanks. I think traditionally it was a symbol as for the bears or something of that sort.
Yeah, polar bears.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And it's sometimes used in reference to longtime Alaskans as well. So it's both a mascot and in that terminology too.
Oh.
Yeah. We're learning so much today, y'all. All right. What is an ulu? Do you know?
Ulu, yeah, it's a traditional knife. The yeah, there's it's used to harvest salmon and very sharp knife. I've seen people use them. I've never used one myself, but it seems like it makes it easier to fillet a salmon. So from what I've seen, yeah.
Okay. Well, and by the way, since you said salmon, I wanted to bring this up earlier when you were talking about the different types of fish in the area. I love salmon, but it's really hard. I'm also very picky about salmon. It's hard for me to find good salmon made in restaurants and in the grocery store and all that. I bet the salmon in Alaska is amazing.
Yes, so I am the same exact way being from Alaska. I'm pretty picky about my salmon. I You will not see me down here eating salmon at a
Okay.
restaurant because I have the opportunity to eat some of the best salmon in the world when I go back home. So it's like I would rather just not not venture off
Right?
and try to eat some salmon from somewhere else. And so
You'd be
yeah.
spitting out and going, what is this? Take it away.
Yeah. There's also certain ways that my relatives, they either smoke it or the way they bake it or sick yuck. And so yeah, I just don't.
Oh my gosh. So that if I ever came up there to your neck of the woods where you grew up, I would definitely be asking for salmon at the restaurants. I bet it's amazing.
Yes, yes.
Well, so speaking of the ulu, it's also that knife. It's also known as a woman's knife because women historically did much of the processing of fish and game once it was procured. And so I was reading that if you're looking for a gift that is both beautiful and useful, an ulu should be at the top of your list. So anyone looking for a good gift for someone, that's a good gift.
Yes, be careful with it though. It is very sharp. So
Good to know. Word to the wise.
yes.
Right. So this is the last one. Are you ready?
Yes.
I think this one's funny. I think it might be my favorite. What is a 1 week wonder?
Uh a 1 week cruise in Alaska.
Yes, actually. So for parts of Alaska, apparently some people in Alaska think of it as a derogatory way of referring to a backpacker who did a 1 or 2 week backcountry trip and now considers himself an expert in every aspect of Alaskan wilderness travel.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, just
Love it so much.
another nickname for a newcomer. Well, that's huh.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of that one. Yeah.
right? I bet there are definitely some of those. So if you were in Alaska and someone calls you a 1 week wonder, don't be thinking that's a good term. It may mean you need to take it down a little bit.
Oh gosh.
You're not the expert in Alaska backcountry trips. All right. Well, Scott, you did a good job on this quiz. And even though you've left Alaska, we'll still allow you the title of Alaskan after all. Before we go, are there any Native causes or businesses you'd like to promote?
Yeah, obviously my tribe for supporting me all this way, and the Native Corporation and Scholarship Foundation. And I think one of the big ones here is ASIS, the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, allowing me to connect with TEPA and, Kodiak for supporting me and KEF for supporting me being there. Not necessarily a business, but a hobby I'm working on right now is I actually have some sea otter on some uh, on some shoes there. And so more so of a hobby of mine that I'm taken into. And I wear them when I, dress up in my suit and go to conferences for and represent TEPA. So yeah, other than that, I again just thankful for everybody that supported me thus far. And I appreciate you having me on here. So yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. And are there any words of wisdom you would like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember being a child and wondering where I was going to end up in life, and what I can say to that is believe in yourself, especially as a Native American. Your presence is monumental. Our ancestors would be very proud of us for being here, especially with all the terrible things we've endured, and some of the things we've talked about relating to my people and the terrible treatment. And so we are going to be the ancestors and elders to the next generation. So, the only thing we can do is pass on that strength and resilience to the next people and to our people that come after us. And so, your Native identity is great, and don't shy away from it, and be proud of who you are, and understand that what you believe you are capable of, you're capable of 3 times more. So, yes. That is my words of wisdom.
Our indigenous Alaskan brothers and sisters have endured the tragedies of invasion, forced assimilation, and the deliberate near erasure of language, culture, and traditions. Despite these immense challenges, the Alutiiq people exemplify resilience. They persist in reviving their language and tirelessly rebuilding what others sought to dismantle. Let us draw inspiration from their unwavering strength in preserving their heritage. Yakoki to you, Scott, and to the Alutiiq tribe for your enduring inspiration.
Oyana.
Y'all, I have to show you my new favorite soap from Baker's Bar Soapery. Check out this Vanish, which means buffalo in Choctaw. It's scented with leather fragrance, so I bought one for my husband and one for me too, of course, and it smells so good. This soap is a tribute to the Choctaw and the resilience of the buffalo. Luxury soaps, lotions, and lip balms from Baker's Bar Soapery are 100% Choctaw crafted. And yes, these are made with goat's milk, so they leave your skin feeling soft and supple. So load up on these Choctaw soaps made by Tiffany at Baker's Bar Soapery at thebbsoapery.com. But be sure to get 20% off when you use the code NATIVECHOCTAW, that's all caps, when you spend $25 or more. Treat yourself to the luxury your skin deserves with Baker's Bar Soapery.
Thanks for listening to Native Chalk Talk. Be sure to join our community on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and check us out at nativechalktalk.com. Stay tuned for the next episode. You're going to love it. Yakoki. Thank you, my friends.